learn more about God. I believed in him as a higher power, but nothing else, so I never saw a correlation between God and my life. And so having no desire to know him at all, I felt as if my only purpose was to work hard and be a good person, just like society always told us to. So as a young teenager, I had really selfish ambitions for my future. Using social media, I started to put my hobbies into video content and steadily gained the attention that I always wanted. Relying on the opinions of others, I was constantly searching for ways to appease my growing audience, and I feared the world, but never God. I thought that I'd be just fine to continue like this, drowning in my worldly sin and self-righteousness because everything seemed to be going so well. In addition to that time, I was in an emotionally abusive relationship with a boy who constantly body shamed me and threatened to rape me. Eventually, my actions and values began to reflect his, and the close relationships I had with friends and family began to crumble. I stayed and chose to rely on my own ways and desires, whatever satisfied me, just as my peers had advised me to. And to conceal my lack of knowledge, I just thought that if I could balance on this surface of maintaining happiness, that I'd be fine to continue the way I was. And I thought that I knew what I was doing, and I decided to follow whatever brought me the most immediate comfort, or what I thought was comfort. All of this temporary happiness that I valued out of this relationship trapped my narrow and prideful mind into even more isolation. 6 months later, my boyfriend cheated on me, and I felt really lost, but this is where my eyes began to open. I started to realize how little I knew and how much I didn't want to be living in this toxic lifestyle. And how when all the worthless happiness I thirsted for went away, I felt completely useless. And so I asked myself, what am I living for? And so confused, I tried to keep an open mind, seeking purpose. I started to realize how little I knew, and through the trials of my freshman year of high school, God worked through my youth pastor and my father to draw me closer to him. My pastor at the time had given this one particular sermon about how we should glorify God in everything that we do, as our lives are not our own, we're not the center of our lives. And for a while, I blindly observed and agreed, not really knowing what it meant. I was in a constant state of anxiety and self-consciousness, but the way that my pastor and father expressed their love for God and advised me in accordance to his word, without a doubt, made me curious. I wanted to know how this could be, and I felt more hunger to know God. God brought a new friend into my life shortly after, who I could talk about with Christ. And talking openly about him was really new to me, because I never really talked about God with anyone before. And the conversations with my new friend were eye-opening, and he encouraged me to look to the Bible for truth. I came to realize that I knew so little of the immeasurable and amazing things that God does for us. And I was realizing things that I never knew, things that I never even thought about before. I wondered how God could have given me all these blessings that I had in my life when I had rejected him so many times. The magnitude of God's love, the agonizing death Jesus suffered on the cross, paying the ultimate price so that we wouldn't have to. How could I deserve that? He didn't need me, but still wanted me and offered this gift with his unconditional love. And I was the one who needed him. I had been living all for myself. I realized that I was a prideful and ignorant sinner, and I pushed away the purpose he created me for, trying to work for myself, my own glory, my own comfort. And I thought to myself, how could he ever forgive someone like me? For the wages of sin are death and hell, and I would soon be condemned. But I was shown that God's grace is more than enough. It's unfailing and perfect in our weakness, and so undeserved. Romans 3:23 tells us, "For all have sinned and come short to the glory of God. But we are freely justified only by his grace, the redemption that came through Jesus Christ." Why was I seeking validation from the opinions of the world around me when God's grace is more than enough? I always thought that I was the one who knew my path, and that I simply needed to do my own good work to achieve what I thought was ultimate success. But he is the creator of all things, the all-knowing, sovereign God, whose ways are so much higher than ours, and my selfish and worldly desires meant nothing. After this conviction in my heart, I began to feel constant joy rather than anguish. Surrendering, my chains were broken by God in His timing, and I did nothing to deserve it. After accepting Christ, I found my life to be completely transfigured in an entirely new light. The secular things I once idolized and valued in life didn't matter anymore. Looking to the cross, I realized how broken I am and how much I need Jesus. And I've been given a great desire to learn more, to love those around me, and zeal to share the gospel with others. I realize how blessed I am that every meal and breath that I have is because of Christ. And I learned that in following Jesus, I cannot take up my own cross and die daily in my own strength, but only by His saving grace. And I once imagined heaven as a simple place, but came to realize that it's so far beyond what I could ever imagine. God is so awesome, so good, and He loves me, a wretched sinner. His will is perfect, and the battle is already won by Christ, and there's nothing to fear. I became aware of what it meant to be of the world, and the way I blindly conformed with it. And so now turning to the Bible for truth. To be called and given wisdom by Him is such a blessing, even when it isn't in the easiest situation. My eyes were shown to the breathtaking beauty in all of God's perfectness and creation and work through everything. There's so much more than what I can say that He has done, so much that I don't know and what I'm not capable of understanding. But He is all I need, and I can joyfully say that I'm saved not by my works, but by His sovereign grace.